Welcome to the Cuyahoga County Council Committee of the Whole. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Good afternoon, everyone. To all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Also, as a reminder to all meeting attendees seeking parking validation for today's meeting, please be sure to scan the QR code located on the back table near the chamber's entrance to claim your discount. If you do not already have a Metropolis account, you will need your license plate number to set up the account in advance of receiving your validation. Please be sure to complete this prior to the end of today's meeting, as the QR code will be removed at the conclusion of today's meeting. It is now 1:15 p.m. Calling the roll, Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
Mr. Schlepper.
Here.
Ms. Conwell.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Ms. Turner.
Here.
Mr. Hauser.
Here.
Ms. Simon. Here. Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Mr. Castleberry.
Here.
Council President Miller.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment?
Lou.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, now it's one news after the other. GCRTA already found out, due to the health insurance coverage for all their employees, they have to redo their budget. And now they have a big deficit. Please, people, understand. It's not only about the poor people or the homeless people, food stamp card, Medicaid. The current state, all the public policy from federal government and our state government is putting everybody in trouble. GCRTA definitely wants to maintain their service, but they have to make sure they pay their employee legally, lawfully, right? Same thing. Right now, Office of Homeless Services will only have less than 50 days, 50 calendar days, to crunch numbers, to answer the ridiculous new NOFA. Because the whole country, all the continuums of care already submitted proposal, application, and the finding was already out. Now, everything has to be redone. Whom are we dealing with? Poor people is not the enemy, but the public policy is. If we continue to follow these policies to put people into homelessness, mass incarceration, all the funding has to go to all other things our county residents have no pleasure to even have access. What are we doing here? I'm sorry the burdens right now fall on you. But since 2017, we already learned, public defender's office actually was the homeless in the government. Now we will have more departments get in this trouble. Please do something.
Robert Bob Stabe.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Stabe. I appear before you as a proud resident of County Council District 9, as a member of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Cleveland, and as an active member of Greater Cleveland Congregation's Youth Bindover Task Force. Today you will consider an allocation of $1.2 million for 15 additional probation officers at the juvenile court. I strongly encourage you to approve this allocation. By way of brief background, as a result of GCC's organizing, in the fall of 2023, County Council created the Special Advisory Subcommittee on Juvenile Justice. Thank you, Councilman Gallagher, for making this a reality. The subcommittee was tasked with doing a comprehensive review of the juvenile justice system and making recommendations. The Special Advisory Subcommittee made a number of recommendations. Chief among them was hiring additional probation officers. The special subcommittee found that probation officers tasked with providing comprehensive solution for higher-risk youth have caseload sizes that are too large to provide effective case management. I can speak to this from my own personal experience. My first adult job was as a probation officer at juvenile court, and I worked there from 1978 to 1984. Even then, I struggled to make one monthly contact with the young men who were on my caseload. So in keeping with the subcommittee's advisory, I urge you again to consider allocating $1.2 million for 15 additional probation officers in keeping with that subcommittee's recommendation. In closing, GCC deeply appreciates the hard work and support of Councilperson Gallagher and the Special Advisory Subcommittee. This is a great beginning, not an end. These are our children. This is our community. Thank you for this opportunity.
Dr. Thomas Gilmore.
My name is Reverend Dr. Thomas Gilmore. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the Cleveland Clergy Alliance. We are a nonprofit, and so we have no gain or benefit from what we do. But right now, the largest population are our seniors, the baby boomers. They make up the largest population. We partner with the Department of Senior and Adult Services for the county. They provide great services for our seniors. The problem has been that they had no connection between the community and those that need the services. Cleveland Clergy Alliance has connection with all the partners, all the churches in the east side of Cleveland and throughout the county, and we have not only been making people aware of the services that the county provides, but also connecting them to those services. We have been working with DSAS for a few years. Budget was originally at $150,000 per year, which is very small. It has been cut to 75, and because of further cuts for this coming contract year, we have been cut out completely, which means not only are the seniors going to be affected by this, but DSAS's ability to connect with seniors in the community will also be connected. So we're appealing to you to make sure that that does not disappear, because right now we are an essential service, our seniors are essential, and when we start cutting budgets, we need to consider those that need the money the most before we cut out those services. Thank you.
Leah Winsberg.
Good afternoon, Chair Turner, Council President Miller, Vice President Conwell, and members of County Council. My name is Leah Winsberg. I'm the Community Engagement Attorney for the Cuyahoga County Public Defender's Office, and I'm here to offer support for the critical funding requested by the Juvenile Court as recommended by its advisory subcommittee. Our office's multidisciplinary teams serve as advocates for hundreds of children and families each year navigating both the juvenile and adult criminal justice systems. And I've personally worked with and advocated for children for over 20 years. Several years ago, I, along with many others in this room, offered testimony repeatedly, urging a comprehensive review of our local juvenile justice system to identify areas of improvement. Thanks to Councilman Gallagher and the Public Safety and Justice Affairs Committee for creating the Juvenile Court Advisory Subcommittee, and we're grateful to the dedication and diligence of the subcommittee's leaders and members around these issues. We believe these are critical to the health and well-being of our future community for all members. Given our office's proximity in serving children and families who come to the attention of juvenile court, we offered several recommendations for lasting improvements. Our attorneys and social workers presented to the subcommittee, and we shared lived experience perspective from clients that aligned very closely with the recommendations and roadmap that the subcommittee created and submitted in May. Funding alternatives to detention, a full continuum, as well as right-sizing probation by adding 15 additional probation officers. These are incremental but really important investments. Currently, children can languish in our local detention center simply because there are no other options for them in the community that are appropriate. This is not only expensive, but it's destabilizing and creates unnecessary risks for continued court involvement. Our secure facilities should not be used for those who do not pose a public safety risk or require that level of detention. Funding is needed to create and expand safe, trauma-informed spaces for all kids in our community. Madam Chair, I see I'm out of time. I'm nearly wrapped up. May I be permitted to finish?
Please.
Thank you. We also know that young people face cumulative challenges during and after incarceration, and the subcommittee's report highlighted both local and national data showing that youth placed on probation are far less likely to pick up additional charges than youth who are incarcerated. Our clients are much more likely to succeed long-term when they're kept in their communities on probation and given individualized support. Our juvenile probation officers have a unique task different from the adult system. They're not solely focused on surveillance and compliance. They're tasked with providing interventions, building relationships, incentivizing, and coaching our young people.
Please wrap up your statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would ask that the committee fund both of these recommendations fully. They're necessary. This is a critical time and will help as we continue to build into our community corrections facility in this county. But we also believe that there is an urgent need for funding around preventing contact with the juvenile court by
Thank
funding
you.
credible
Thank you.
messengers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Valerie Taylor.
I know that everyone is going to be very passionate about their comments, so I'm going to ask you to please keep your comments to the 2-minute allotment so we can get through everyone's comments here today. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Cuyahoga County stands at a physical,
Ma'am,
pivotal.
if you could state your name for the record, please.
Valerie Taylor with Cleveland Clergy Alliance. I am the the county administrative for navigators for Cleveland Clergy Alliance. Cuyahoga County stands at a pivotal moment. Our population of our older adults is rapidly increasing, and with the growth comes both challenges and opportunity. The decision we make today will determine whether our seniors, especially those who are low income, disabled, or living alone, can live a dignified, stable, and connected life. The Cleveland Clergy Alliance is uniquely positioned to meet the moment. For decisions that need to be made through our churches and our partners, we have trusted voices within our community and within our neighborhood, placing many of our seniors' safety and support within our community. With county investments, the Alliance can also support seniors and disabled seniors programs that deliver exactly the outcome that Cuyahoga County has publicly committed to, helping residents remain in their home, improving mental health, physical health, and reducing long-time care costs. Investing in Cleveland Cuyahoga County Cleveland Clergy Alliance senior programming, it is not simply a funding request. It is a practical, cost-effective strategy for addressing one of the county's most pressing demographic realities, supporting a rapid growing senior population, helping more residents age safely in their home, reducing isolation, loneliness, and mental health systems, strained disability income, and programming. Thank you.
Reverend Otis R. King.
Hello, Council. I am Reverend Otis R. King, Greater Cleveland Congregation member and Associate Minister at Olivet Institutional Baptist Church, where the great Reverend Dr. Jawanza Kareem Colvin is our pastor. First, we want to thank County Council, with Councilman Gallagher leading the way, to put together a juvenile advisory subcommittee. Second, we want to thank the commission themselves, the Honorable Ronald Adrian, Marvin Cross, Bridget Gibbons, the Honorable Robert McClellan, Jennifer Bloomington Yarham, and the clerk, Janine Carter. Third, we want to thank all our members from GCC who are here and at home watching as we share in a moment where real progress is being made. We thank our youth bind-over leadership, Jean Reinhold and Sister Denise Sherney. We thank our GCC leaders, Mrs. Keisha Crum and Ms. Kalila Worley. We thank our clergy, the great Reverend Pastor Reverend Dr. Jawanza Kareem Colvin, Pastor Reverend Dr. Napoleon Harris, Pastor Reverend Ryan Wallace. And again, we thank Sister Denise Sherney for coordinating with Olivet and GCC to make sure that Olivet stays on the cutting edge of social justice in our community. GCC in 2023 put forth a budget proposal that got the attention of County Council that sparked the idea of a juvenile advisory committee. GCC in 2025 stands here now after 2.5 years and a lot of work on our part, agreeing on a budget to be passed by council. GCC in 2027 will return to monitor the condition passed here today in an effort to continue to bring about a judicial process that does not tilt based on race, but behavior. We understand this is to be cost efficient. We understand the community wants this, the families want this, GCC wants this to be passed. GCC will continue to work hard on better. All right, okay, I got 30 seconds? I'm sorry.
Continue.
Thank you, ma'am. GCC will continue to work hard on better rehabilitation conditions, judicial process, and qualified representation. We will address the lifelong bind-over effect on criminal records. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Mary E. Rice.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to have a few moments. My name is Mary Rice, and I'm a member of the Cleveland Clergy Alliance. Just a few words. I won't be a full 2 minutes. Just a few words. How a community treats its children as well as its senior citizens is definitely affect how the wealth of that nation. I am really concerned about the cutting of the funding for the Cleveland Clergy Alliance program to help senior adults in Cuyahoga County. The methodology is to using those things that senior citizens are familiar with, churches. I myself have had an opportunity to see after you live a long period of time, most of the people you know are no longer there. So therefore, the seniors are skeptical about getting out and doing things, very skeptical. And living a life of isolation. I've seen it, I've witnessed it, I've interviewed seniors as the program was first getting started. What we do is work with senior citizens through the churches to ensure that they are no longer isolated, even providing program where the senior citizens can enjoy a lot of social programming. That is so important. How we treat our seniors. The program was once funded at $75,000. Now that has been cut totally. There's no funding. What will happen to the program? How important are our seniors? That's the only thing I want to say to you this morning. Have a blessed day, one and all, and thank you for the time.
Reverend Edward E. Waltons.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Edward E. Walton. I am with CCA, Cleveland Clergy Alliance. I am here to ask that you fund Cleveland Clergy Alliance because we connect with seniors, our community, through the churches, that our seniors are looking forward of seeing us. They call us when they have a problem. They call us when they're in need. We help with bringing groceries to them. We help them just in the case of just talking to them so they can be out of their so they can be socially connected. We have taken the seniors, we have nights out with them. We bring them to a Cavaliers game that we call it the Senior Citizens Night Out, where they can come out their house, be safe, and watch the Cavs. That I'm here to ask that you restore the funding for Cleveland Clergy Alliance. Thank you very much.
Reverend Lorenzo Norris.
Good afternoon. I'm here on behalf of Cleveland Clergy Alliance.
Reverend Norris, if you could state your name for the record,
Reverend
please.
Lorenzo Norris, CEO of Cleveland Clergy Alliance. I think in the past, all of council, I want to thank all of you for your support going back to 2019. We were somewhat shocked that all of the money from Cleveland Clergy Alliance was taken away. We not only get support from the county, but recognizing your cuts and things that you do, foundations such as the Cleveland Foundation, Gun Foundation, from the state and federal government to run this program. Our staff, who only works part-time, 10 hours a week, volunteer about 15 to 20 hours a week of their time to help seniors and those with disability. I'm asking as well for the 100 of people that we serve, computer program, food deserts, literacy, because many seniors do not read or write well. In terms of technology, they need our assistance to go all the way. We not only connect seniors to services, but we sometimes just follow through and do all of the work that we need to do. I'm concerned about those seniors, hundreds of seniors, and we work in all of your wards, not just one ward, but all of the wards, east and west side, that we help seniors all over this county. I'm appealing to you to continue the funding of this program. Thank you so much.
That concludes the public comment portion for today's meeting.
Okay, we'll now proceed with today's meeting. We'll consider budget amendments, including the administration's technical amendments and council's amendments 1 through 10. Before we move into the agenda, I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the advocates who are present with us today. To the advocates that joined us, thank you for caring deeply enough to show up, to speak up, and to push us forward. Advocacy is a gift to government. It keeps us focused, accountable, and connected to the real experiences of residents. Your passion, your persistence, and your commitment to the communities you represent are deeply respected by all of us here. I understand that emotions can run high, especially when the needs are urgent and the work feels personal. Please know that your efforts are seen, your concerns are heard, and your dedication is not taken for granted. You bring an important energy and perspective that strengthens this process and reminds us who we are here to serve. I also want to acknowledge that much of the conversation this afternoon centered around women and children or seniors, understandably so. These are some of our most vulnerable residents in our care, and their needs deserve serious attention. I also want to be equally clear that no one here is indifferent to those needs. The concerns we're hearing today is rooted in genuine care, and I respect the passion behind it. I'm sure all my colleagues do. What we cannot allow, however, is the suggestion that difficult fiscal decisions are synonymous with the lack of concern or commitment. We are not choosing between caring and not caring. We are not choosing within the limits, we are choosing within the limits of the budget before us. These decisions are not a reflection of the worth of any population, including women, seniors, or children, but of the reality that our resources are finite. I believe in the mission of every advocate in this room, and I also believe in the responsibility entrusted to this council to balance compassion with stewardship. We can honor both truths, even when our choices are constrained. So, I just want to gently remind us that disagreement is not dismissal. The limitations we face in this budget are financial, not philosophical. And the fact that we cannot fund every request today does not diminish the value of the work being done or the sincerity of the people doing it. So again, I want to thank you for your presence today and thank you for sharing your thoughts. We'll now turn our attention to the budget amendments before us this afternoon. Mr. McAleer?
May I read the item into the record, please? Resolution 2025-0293, adopting the 2026-2027 biennial operating budget and capital improvements program.
Madam Chair, Trevor Mackler, County Council staff. In your packet before you, you have several proposed amendments. The first one is the administration's technical amendments, which Walter is going to come up shortly and present those to the council. And then you have budget amendments numbered 1 through 10. 8 was removed and incorporated into number 1. So although there's 10 budget amendments numbered on the top, there are only 9 of them with 8 missing, no, number 8 missing. If it's okay with you, Madam Chair, I would have Walter come up and present the administration's technical amendments, and then we can take each amendment one by one if that's what you want to do.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, council members. Walter Parfiowitz from the Budget Office. I have 2 technical amendments. We discussed sales taxes last week. One of the amendments is a sales tax adjustment, taking the percentage increase from last year from 2.5% to 3%, roughly adding $1.7, $1.8 million to each year's budget. And the second technical adjustment is to reduce the capital improvement subsidy by $2 million in 2026 and $500,000 in 2027. Those 2 technical adjustments leave the executives recommended, if you will, with a small surplus in each year. That's what I have. Questions?
Okay. Okay. Speak now.
Madam Chair.
I'll talk to.
Okay. President Miller?
First, I would like to note for my colleagues that the technical amendments affect only the general fund.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's correct, Councilman.
And I will at this time move that we accept the administration technical amendments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any nays? Okay, the measure
Thank you very
carries.
much.
I'd like to say one thing.
Mr. Sweeney?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I just want to thank Walter. This is probably your last time up here. Every 2 years for this budget cycle, and every 2 years for the 6 years I've been here. I appreciate all your hard work, especially on this one. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Madam Chair, Trevor Mackler, council staff again. So the technical amendments were just adopted, incorporated into the recommended budget. Now the next 9 council amendments, if they go forward on the floor today, will be council initiated. And then what we would do is ask OBM for whatever ones get adopted to incorporate in a new budget schedule for council. Hopefully they can get something to us for the 5 o'clock meeting tomorrow. It's a pretty quick turnaround. But then you can have a new schedule for second reading consideration and then third reading at the December 9th meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
On Friday, I did send out a summary of what was at the time 10 amendments. That email is in front of you as well, just giving a brief summary of each amendment. If it's okay with the chairwoman, I can go over each one at a time, and then you guys can discuss each one.
Yes.
Okay.
That would work.
Council Amendment Number 1, which was sponsored by Council President Miller, Vice President Conwell, and Finance Chair Turner. incorporates some language changes to the resolution. In the whereas clause in particular, it spells out the spending structure around the casino revenue, which, as a reminder, goes into the Community Development Fund and then will be transferred to various funds. We project about $8.9 million in total annual revenue. We're on pace for that again this year. Of that, if the council amendment number 1 gets adopted, $1.5 million will be transferred to the ED fund, which is a reduction of $1 million from the proposed $2.5 million in the executive recommended budget. $1 million will go to the CDSG program that has been set up. Approximately $1.2 million will go towards the gateway debt. $4.5 million is incorporated, which is $500,000 more than the current proposed budget for general fund purposes to help offset general operating costs, and then $700K would remain in the Community Development Fund. In addition to the whereas clause, a new section 2 would be added related to the Sheriff's Department, which is the same language we have in the current budget resolution, which requires monthly reporting by the Sheriff's Office. Every month they provide council that in writing, particularly around the overtime expenses, which has been a good way to track their real-time projected and actual overtime expenses. So that is the same language that's in the current budget resolution. In terms of changes to the actual general fund, as I mentioned, it would reduce the transfer to the Economic Development Fund by $1 million. So instead of $2.5 million, it would be $1.5 million to the ED fund. They have a balance today approximately of $30 million. There are some encumbrances on that $30 million, but currently there's about $30 million sitting in the ED fund. The sheriff proposed budget transfer, appropriation transfer, would create a separate accounting unit for the community support unit. This is something that OBM would have to do. So it would transfer $1.4 million that would fund the community support unit, which was formerly Downtown Safety Patrol, and create a new accounting unit for that. So council can see that on budget reports and stuff like that. The total net is actually positive to the general fund $1 million, because again, that transfer for the sheriff is just 1.4, but it's a current appropriation. On the HHS levy side, it restores Metro Health's annual subsidy to $35 million annually. So it's a $3 million increase out of the HHS levy reserves in 2026 and $1.5 million in 2027. There's a $250,000 increase in 2027 to partially restore the Greater Cleveland Work Scholarships that was fully cut in 2027. As a reminder, part of the recommended budget reductions was the scholarships would go down to $250,000 in 2026 and be completely eliminated in 2027. So what this does is makes it $250,000 per year. Prior to this year, it was, or prior to next year, it was $500,000 per year. Canopy contract, this money would be restored in DCFS. It would be a $300,000 restoration in 2026 and a $200,000 restoration in 2027. They were cut, I believe, $500,000 per year for a total of $1 million reduction. So this would be about approximately half of the restoration back. And the last HHS levy fund is an increase to Family Children First Council budget of $125,000 per year for a partial restore of the CTAG program. That program is currently being reduced if the executive recommended budget was adopted by $200,000 each year. This would restore $125,000 per year. So in total for HHS levy reserves, if Amendment 1 is adopted, it would utilize $3.425 million of levy reserves in 2026 and a little under $2.1 million in 2027. That would take us at the end of 27 projected cash reserves to about 4.7%. Depending on how the subsidies play out to all the departments over the next 2 years. And that is Amendment 1, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I just have a question.
Mr. Sweeney?
Madam Chair, the 4.17, what does that equate to in dollars?
Yep, 4.7%. Councilman would take the projected ending cash balance at the end of '27 if expenditures stayed as approved in the recommended budget to a little north of $15.2 million.
Thank you very much, Mr.
And we should have 28 million is the 10%.
Yeah, I just wanted to get the figure of 4.7. I know the 10%'s preferred. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Gallagher and then Mr. Miller.
You're right. Thank you, Madam Chair. On Amendment 1, number 1, that's the only, everything else seems fine, but why would we be voting against our best interests for our cities and townships, removing potential dollars for their use? I know in my district, this is a highlight of the year when they anticipate receiving these funds. What is the thought process behind this? Number 1,
Mr. Miller, Mr. McAleer?
Madam Chair, to Councilman Gallagher, could you explain further what your concern is? I'm not sure what you're referring to.
that we're transferring casino revenue to economic development. Are we removing dollars from our abilities to transfer out, or do I have that wrong?
So, the amendment builds on what was done in the administration proposal to, we do not provide as much, we do not keep as much money in the casino revenue fund for economic development and community development as we've done in the past. And this proposal is to transfer $4.5 million per year from the casino revenue fund to the general fund to help get the budget in balance. The administration proposal was at $4 million. This one is a little bit larger because we, noting the $30 million balance in the ED fund and the fact that that they have easily sufficient resources to fund pending projects, that we added an additional $500,000 per year going to the general fund, and we kept an additional $500,000 per year in case any community development projects emerge.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
One other thing to add to that, there is I did not look at the October report, but I think there's about $6 to $7 million in the community development fund right now. So that will carry over and stay in the fund for next year.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Simon?
To Mr. McAleer, I think I want to make sure that Councilman Gallagher's question was, I think, had to do with CDSG and the casino revenue, the fund for our projects. I guess that's the question that I want clarity on.
Yes.
How does it impact council's programs?
So in prior years, including 2025, historically, for the most part, there's a couple years it varied a little bit. We would transfer, council would transfer about $4 million to the ED fund, provide $1.5 million for CDSG, and provide $1 million for the housing fund that the land bank administered. This year, council added the authorization to pay for the gateway notes out of the casino revenue. The biggest changes that are impacted over the next 2 years, and that was in part, I think, why it wanted to be memorialized in the whereas clauses for a 2-year window is that the transfer to the ED fund is being reduced by $2.5 million, so from 4 to 1.5. The CDSG program is being reduced from $1.5 million to $1 million. And then ongoing operation CDS, or in the Community Development Fund, which would be around $2 million, is being reduced to $700,000. So the available funds on an annual basis that council would authorize for certain projects throughout the county is being reduced. But again, I want to stress there's that current balance in the Community Development Fund that will stay in the fund.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Miller?
just a point of clarification that the amendment number 1 does not change the amount of money going into the CDSG. That was $1 million in the executive's recommended budget, and it's not affected by this.
It's still it's $1 million.
It's still $1 million.
It's still $1 million.
Right.
Okay. Anything else on Amendment 1?
I'll make a motion to approve Amendment 1.
Okay.
I do have one question, just a point of clarity to the chair, to the speaker. Did we ever get clarity around the sheriff's budget? I know the department came in and said they would need more money. The administration said it was enough. Did we get any clarity?
Sorta, I would say, yeah. There was discussion at the last committee meeting, Councilman. Council did approve on the technical amendments. I don't know if I have it in front of me, but I want to say 4.8 million more for the sheriff's office. Walter, is that 4.8 more million for the sheriff's office? At the committee of the whole last week, sheriff staff did indicate that they are still projecting it to be, they will need more. They said they're probably going to be closer to 213. This takes it to a little bit north of 205. But if the council approves the recommended budget, including the technical amendment, it'll be just shy of $206 million. But the sheriff's staff at last week's meeting did indicate that they believe that they will fall short.
So essentially, the budget is probably already unbalanced if the sheriff's department is already indicating they probably need more money for next year.
If that turns out to be correct, yes.
I see what you're talking about, Councilman Gallagher.
Anything further? I believe there was a motion made by.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, did you get who made the second?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. Mr. McAleer.
Madam Chair, Council Amendment number 2, sponsored by Councilwoman Simon, Councilman Hauser, and Councilman Gallagher, would provide $1.2 million each year to juvenile court for the 15 probation officers. In your packet with the list of proposed council amendments is the juvenile court subcommittee recommendation, as well as a memo emailed from juvenile court that indicates that they have about $3.1 million in addiction services that they provide currently to the juveniles that they are responsible for. What this amendment would do would in turn free up those levy dollars and fund it with opioid dollars to provide funding for the 15 probation officers. And as you know, several people here are here from juvenile court if there's any questions for them.
Okay.
Would move for adoption.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Was there any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
I'll defer to the sponsor.
Thank you. Well, here we are. And we all knew when this committee started, this was going to be a difficult slog through financial times. But for the edification of my colleagues that weren't here, this was placed on the table. I got a lot of praise today, but the praise goes to the council. Because if it wasn't for the council taking the step to do this in the first place, asked by one of our council people on the way out, Cheryl Stevens, it probably never would have happened. a schism in our society here. We had advocates for the juvenile court, families and the children, versus the court. And it wasn't a pretty sight. And that spilled over into our offices here and our meetings. And this was an opportunity and a leap of faith by both sides and the council to put together a committee, independent of all of us, to review the juvenile court, how it's funded, where they're going, what processes they use, where the money, not only where does money go, but how it's used. Are we helping these kids? And most importantly, what can we do down the road that will make things better? At the beginning, I certainly was skeptical, as many people were, and I think maybe both sides were. But I have to say that if it wasn't for the initiative of the citizens and the willingness of the court to open up everything that they do in a unified way to try and figure out what can we do for these kids, what can we do for these families to make things better, to grab them before or during when they're getting involved with activities that force them into the court. How do we help them when they're there the first time especially? That was really kind of my thought process, but I wasn't on the committee. As you can see, I attached the committee report to the requests here, and there will be 4 because there were 4 requests from the Juvenile Court Advisory Subcommittee. I think we were all in agreement. These are good things. I think we're all in agreement. We think they're going to work. And then came the time when the budget came out. I knew it was going to be difficult. So now it's on me. How can I get this stuff funded without affecting the bottom line of the budget? And what we have right now is sitting in our opioid funds is $70 million. That, as far as I know, has not been spoken for. The court provides over $3 million a year in drug addiction, drug courts, drug help for kids on drugs. We can easily move the opioid funds over there for the next 2 years to cover the cost of this, so the court can provide the 15 people to start the work, the hard work necessary, the hands-on work necessary to help these families and these children, and ultimately our society. It's cost neutral. It's not controversial. I think I've quite honestly said enough. I would hope that you would take it into your heart, council, to review this as our first and not last attempt to start turning the juvenile situation in Cuyahoga County around, because there will not be a second. And that's what my concern is. If this dies, that dies. And we've sent a signal to the community, to other elected officials, to the children, and to the families that you're getting what you get. And the outcomes right now aren't great. We have an opportunity. I hope we grasp it. Again, it's cost neutral. It wouldn't have been fair of me to go into the budget and start cutting out more of what already has been cut. We've heard today from people that have been cut. And as the chairwoman said, this isn't a moral choice. This is a financial choice. But I might suggest on the back end of this request that it is a moral choice because it is cost neutral. So I ask my colleagues to vote your conscience, and let's start the process of healing these families.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Miller?
Madam Chair, my colleagues, we're in what has been described as the worst financial situation since the start of the new government. As you've already heard, after making serious cuts, the general fund is in balance only if we achieve a very challengingly low number on the cost of operations on the sheriff's office. The leadership amendment made no changes to the general fund that cost money. However, we did what we could to respond to the most urgent needs in health and human services. The thing that we heard most from colleagues was to restore funding for Metro Health. Most, but not all, strongly advocated that we fully restore Metro Health to its current subsidy of $35 million per year. Our amendment did so. But as a result, we are already overextended and could not do much more. We partially restored funding for Canopy, which is an integral part of our child protection strategy, and for 2 long-running council-sponsored programs, the workforce scholarships and closing the achievement gap. As a result, we added $5.5 million to the HHS budget. HHS reserves are now down to $20 million. And with these amendments, the HHS levy fund is more than $3 million underwater for 2026. On top of that, we cut $2 million per year from board and care of our own children in county custody. I believe we're going to need that $2 million and more. We also cut $241,000 per year from the Lutheran Metro Ministry Shelter Program for a number that they say is already heavily underfunded. They project that we'll need at least an additional $1 million per year for the shelter program. In addition, the federal government is seriously talking about funding the homeless continuum of care at only 30% of its current funding, meaning that we could have millions of dollars in unfunded homeless services. And the federal government reduced the share that it will pay for administration of the SNAP program. If the state does not pick this up, we will have about $7 million per year in additional administrative costs in job and family services. Not only are we in bad shape, there are huge uncertainties. We simply cannot afford to add additional amendments. We're stretched as far as it is reasonable to go, and then some, to fund some things, but we can't do everything. We have to make choices. On behalf of our leadership team of Vice Chair Conwell, Finance Chair Turner, and I, we ask you not to approve any of the remaining amendments, which total about $8 million over 2 years. Now, regarding the amendment specifically to fund the 15 additional probation officers at juvenile court, I know that these probation officers would help get youth back on the right track. And I would support it in a heartbeat if we had the money. But we don't, and I oppose it for the following reasons. First, the difficult and great uncertainties in the HHS levy fund that I just described. Second, we're in a hiring freeze, except that the courts aren't participating. So what juvenile court is asking is that they not only get to replace people who leave while other departments don't get to do so, but they get to hire 15 additional staff. And that's on top of the fact that just a couple years ago, we added substantial numbers of additional deputies for the juvenile court. We have other programs that are helping get wayward youth back on the right track. We cut board and care by $2 million per year. We cut the collaboratives, which provide after-school programs and wraparound services for youth by $1.2 million per year. We cut Canopy, workforce, and closing the achievement gap. Why would we cut existing programs which, broadly speaking, serve the same purpose, to hire new staff for a different program? I know that this and other juvenile court programs were recommended in a recently completed study, and I respect the work that was done in that study. But it doesn't mean that we have to fund it in the first year it comes out when we don't have the money. All I'm saying is this: next year, things may be better or they may be worse. We just need to hold off for now. And if things are better next year, we can look at it again next year when we do the budget update. Finally, the $6 million in juvenile court amendments are proposed to be essentially funded using opiate money. Juvenile court programs related to drug and addiction services would be funded from opiate money, and HHS levy dollars that funded those drug and addiction services would be used to fund these new programs. But this is not cost neutral. Director Carney sent us a list last Friday showing planned expenditures for all but $5 million of the opiate funds. And she added further that the $5 million would be mostly needed to sustain fundings that we've already funded with opiate funds, such as drug addiction services at the jail. I agree. The council ought to take a greater role on decision-making on opiate funds, but we should not do so with a fast-moving amendment that would create more non-sustainable positions and has not been properly vetted as to its impact on the overall opiate funding program. This amendment and the other juvenile court amendments are something that we all desire to vote for. But as leader, I have to sometimes ask you to do what is hard. We just don't have the money to add these new expenditures at this time. We've already added $5.5 million in the areas that, as we discussed with all of the council members, seem to be the highest priorities. The HHS levy fund is already $3 million underwater, and we have a lot of uncertainties. I asked my colleagues to reluctantly do what is prudent and reasonable at this time and to vote against this amendment.
Yes. Mr. Gallagher.
Thank you. As I expected. As I expected, and told many of you before the meeting, as I expected. Gobbledygook. The time of year, gobble, gobble, gobbledygook. We got 70 million sitting in that fund. Everything I've moved forward is cost neutral. Anybody that says it isn't cost neutral is not telling you the truth. Gobbledygook. Every dollar could be transferred over without affecting the budget. That's cost neutral. The citizens of this county and advocates in this county and a court in this county that deal with one of the worst situations that we have in this county came to us for a solution. And the solution is here. And it was my job to make it cost neutral. It's cost neutral. Do not buy the gobbledygook. I can tell you right now, and I got the budget right here at my knees, I could go through and find $6 million of real cuts. At the back of your packets, I inserted the top 200 earners in Cuyahoga County Council. Take a look at it. Let your eyes spin out of your head. We not only have the money for this, we have the obligation, in my opinion, to do this. I had heard that this plan was afoot to kill this weeks ago. Heard the phone lines were being burned up weeks ago. So I'm not surprised. I'll stand on my statements. It's true, it's cost neutral, and for any potential use of the $70 million in opioid funding, I have a suspicion on where most of that's going to be going, because we've got a hole in the next 10 years sitting up at St. Vincent Charity that's going to equal, are you ready? $70 million unfunded. So I suggest we help these families, help these kids, help these advocates, help the court, and help ourselves to a solution and stop playing the gobbledygook game.
Mr. Miller?
Madam Chair, I'm not going to respond to the disparaging remarks that were made about me. But I'm just going to say that the administration has a program which they've laid out for the funding of the opiate money. And yes, there could be a few things changed around the edges, but for us to come in here at the last minute and grab millions of dollars worth of opiate money and fund things that we don't have a long-term identified funding source for, the opiate money's going to run out, and we need, and we're struggling with, the thing we need most is that our operations need to be sustainably balanced in that they can continue year after year. And this is a step in the wrong direction on that, in that it creates additional staff that we don't have a long-term way to pay for. And I just want to restate again that I know these services are needed. I know that it will help our children, and these financial problems are cyclical. Sometimes they get better and sometimes they get worse. And they will get better, and when they get better, we can respond to some of these additional needs. But I think now we've gone as far as we can go to try to respond to some of the needs that are out there. So I just ask my colleagues to do the responsible thing and not support the amendment. Thank you.
Mr. Hauser?
Well, my comments, I want to publicly thank our finance chair, our council president, and our vice president. I do not envy you guys at all, and so I just want to publicly thank you for your hard work on this budget. For me, and I've said this before, I do think as a council we should be more proactive and not as reactive, even when it includes the opioid funds. I do agree that this does not affect our general funds. These are opioid dollars. For me, this is violence prevention at its core. especially when we're talking about our young people and our juveniles. I don't think there was a point to create a juvenile court advisory subcommittee if we weren't going to adopt any of the recommendations. And so for those reasons, I am proud to sponsor this amendment. Thank you.
Ms. Simon?
Thank you so much. Mr. McAleer, through the chair, how much is in the opioid fund, unencumbered?
So as of October 31st, there was a balance of $77 million. Of that 77, $50 million is encumbered in the sense that it's been either presented or mentioned to the council that it will be coming forward. So that takes the balance to $27 million. On the spreadsheet that the council president referenced that Brandy sent over last week, there's $22 million of future funding for new initiatives that I don't believe have been presented to the committee, leaving that balance of $5 million that Brandy indicated would be potentially available for sustainability for some of the prior adopted items.
My other question, Mr. McAleer, through the chair, is I heard about sustainability from council president about how in the world can we dare transfer money from the opiate fund for a quote program that's not sustainable. How much of our opioid dollars have been going to operations versus perhaps a capital build out of a crisis center in contrast?
I don't have exact figures, Councilwoman. I would say the majority of the opioid dollars have been authorized for operating cost for non-capital items, except probably for the most recent one, which was $7 million for the crisis center, for the behavioral health center.
Yeah. Okay.
But I would have to, and I think there was some capital at the diversion center, but I'd have to go back and look.
Okay.
But a lot of it is for staffing and programming.
And Mr. McAleer, through the chair, just to remind the audience who might not have been here, that when we talk about sustaining a program and not putting dollars into things that are not sustainable, it's true, isn't it, that the $7 million that this council appropriated and gave to the Crisis Center in St. Vincent was only for a 3-year budget. And after that, to my knowledge and what I heard, after that, there's no real plan for funding for that crisis center after approximately 3 years.
So there was two separate buckets. The $7 million was authorized and approved already by council. That was for the build out of the crisis center. And then the contract has not come forward yet to the council, but Brandy indicated that she would be bringing forward a $12 million 3-year contract, so $4 million per year to help fund the operations of the behavioral health center. So a total of 19 between the two.
Okay. So what I heard today was that we cannot fund the juvenile court probation officers that were recommended highly by the committee that sat for 18 months with stakeholders, professionals, families from all sectors of our county, that somehow we cannot fund this out of the opioid dollars, that at least minimally there's 27 million sitting there because it's not sustainable. I want to point out that we can't continue to use that argument when every decision so far that we've made has been for an operational except for this crisis center. So I just want to point out the inconsistency there. And perhaps what this really is just a priority of where we stand. I mean, that's what budgets really are, aren't they? So we have flexibility here. What I heard first was that probation officers, we shouldn't fund probation officers at juvenile court because it's a different program. Well, I want to set forth, probation officers aren't a program. This isn't like the canopy or programs. This is an essential function of the court, is to have probation officers at the court to help with juveniles coming through so we can stop them from becoming part of the system. So this is not a program. This is a function of the court that has to continue or be able to expand to make sure that the population in our jail continues to go down. And I've heard from Council President in particular, every single time we talk about the jail, that he wants the numbers down, that we don't need so many beds. Well, guess what? This is where it starts. This is how you do that. This is how you stop these juveniles from continuing in a system that's only going to continue to cycle into an endless cycle of poverty and incarceration that we want to stop. And here's recommendations saying how we can stop it. Now, I also heard that we simply can't afford to stretch these dollars right now. And I heard why. And all I heard about was HHS dollars. It's uncertainty of HHS, a hiring freeze, that how dare juvenile court not do that? Well, I'm not going to punish the kids in this county because juvenile court made some fiscal decisions. I'm not going to do that. Other programs got cut, crisis center got, all these programs, HHS. I have not heard that this is funded from the opioid dollars. All I heard is we don't want to use opioid dollars that way. We can use these dollars, we can transfer the money. There's 27 million sitting there minimally because council hasn't voted on a lot of these programs. So this is neutral and it is gobbledygook. Don't mix HHS with opioid dollars. Don't do it. You could do it, but I hope council can see through that and the community can see through that. This can happen and it can be neutral to this budget. So those are my statements. It's something, I heard we can't do this because of what a tough budget is. Well, you know what? We can do this, and we should do this, and we have to do this. 40% of the crime, I can tell you, at least in District 11, coming out of a particular city, 40%, 40+%. This is not only in Cleveland, it's in the inner suburbs. And there's no place to take these kids when they get picked up because the juvenile court is so crowded. And they cannot handle all of these kids, so they go back out on the street. We just had a 5-year-old disabled child brutally attacked by juveniles. And we're going to sit here today and say we can't do this? I hope not.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Sweeney, back to Mr. Miller, Mr. Gallagher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Trevor, when I asked you earlier about the opioid funds, encumbered mean is gone, past, in my definition, gone, validated, getting ready to be executed. And having it meant to say it's something that they mentioned or it came to committee and has been acted on. That's something that is not encumbered in my eyes. Would that be an accurate statement?
Yeah, I think yes, I think it's a fair way to look at it.
Yeah, that's just
Yeah,
my way
right.
of looking at it. But
Yeah.
your explanation was valid, but it was just a different interpretation. But it's 11th hour here, and I'm just learning a little bit more about the opioid. I'd like to know about each one of those programs. Brandy does a great job, but they're unencumbered. And we have some wonderful minds on this council, right? So there's 70 in play. It's going to move forward the way the budget is my thought. But I have a deeper understanding now, so at the end of after this is over, I'm going to start getting a little more involved in the understanding of what is actually encumbered from my definition and what is proposed, and a little bit more on the 5,000 of ambiguity. So I just wanted to share my reflection with my colleagues through this testimony here. So thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Madam Chair, if I can just give a little bit more context,
Please.
because the councilman brings up a good point. So out of the 77 million cash balance today, there are encumbrances on that. They've been approved, they just have not been expended yet. They haven't released the dollars, but council did authorize that.
That's the number that Madam Chair, through the chair to my extraordinary coworker, that's a number I would like, because that'll be the true encumbered dollars.
Yeah, so.
We don't need it now, but.
Okay, all right. I would say approximately of that 77, 30 million have been approved by council. The funds just have not been released. I'm doing some quick math.
Perfect.
So that'll take us down to 47 million. I would say about 20 has been presented to the committee. That includes 12 million for the Behavioral Health Center for 3 years. So that's in that 20. Again, council hasn't approved it. So technically, by your definition, Councilman, it's not encumbered, but we know that it'll be coming to council for consideration at some point.
Perfect, thank
So-
you. You gave me a little more clarity.
Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Gallagher?
Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing is the sausage being made. And it's not easy. And I don't mean to be forward about Mr. Miller or the chairwoman or Ms. Conwell. They've done the best job that they think they can do. And they probably have done the best job that they can do. But what I have presented is cost neutral. I want to keep saying that. But in the spirit of Thanksgiving and the potential of too much gobbledygook going on, Mr. Miller, would it be so horrible and so outrageous for me to drop my amendments if I get this amendment passed?
Mr. Miller?
Madam Chair, to my colleague, with all due respect, I suspect that this was the original intent in submitting $8 million worth of amendments. I don't think there's room for any further amendments. And I also have to say that it is simply not true that the opiate funds and the levy funds are unrelated. Later on, an amendment will come up where my colleague, Mr. Gallagher, is proposing to add $1 million per year to the subsidy for Metro, taking it above the current 35 up to 36.
I told you I would drop that.
But I just want to share with everybody how Councilman Gallagher proposed to fund that. What he was proposing is that we would reduce the levy funding to the Adams Board by that $1 million a year because the Adams Board provide lots of services that are mental health and addiction related, and then he would fund that $2 million from opiate money. And so what I'm saying is that if you could do that, we could do the same thing and fund the $1.2 million that's been cut from the collaboratives, and we could fund the $150,000 a year for the Clergy Alliance, and we could fund the $104,000 a year for the Hearing and Speech Center program to help seniors get hearing aids so that they can live better, and if they want to, they can go back to work. It's a tremendous program that unfortunately is getting cut, eliminated, and we could fund the $2 million a year for the board and care that we know that we're going to need, and we could fund additional $1 million a year for Lutheran Metro Ministry, which they're probably going to need for the shelter programs. But nobody is suggesting doing that. Instead, they're suggesting funding new things. I actually don't think it's a good idea to use opiate money in this way, at least not until we have a better understanding of exactly where we are with the opiate money and really how much money is available and what it could sustain. But if we did it, I'd be for using opiate money to fund these existing programs that we already have that are excellent programs that we know need money. So I respectfully ask again, this is, you know, my wife Carol taught students at Sawyer Business College in the business program, but sometimes discussion got off onto more practical things of life, and as these young people started their way into the world of work, and she would say that that we have a wonderful country. You can have a lot of things, but you can't have everything. You have to make choices. And I think the $5.5 million that we added to the budget to respond to some things that we're heavily concerned about, I think that's as far as it's prudent to go. It's probably actually a little bit farther than it's prudent to go, but we stretched it because people wanted to fully restore Metro, and so we did that. But I asked that we draw the line at this point and not go further, and it doesn't mean we're not going to do it at some point. We just.
So your answer
just
to my
shouldn't do it
simple
now.
question is no.
My answer is no.
Okay, you could have said that right off. I'd appreciated it. And I wish you had that attitude before we dumped all that money into the crisis center with no understanding of where the money's coming from in year 4 through 10, which is the $70 million hole that was created, and the loss of the emergency psych in Cleveland Heights that we dumped $6-7 million into, that we're going to be out. So, my colleagues, I'm going to make this simple because these people want to know what you think. I'm going to drop my amendments. I'm going to move this one forward. I hope you understand what we're dealing with here. Anything that I've heard today as a reason for not doing this is an excuse. It's just an excuse. And I don't think it's backed up by fact. I think it's backed up by fantasy. It's no different than going from a 2% or 2.5% for next year to 4.5% that's being flown by, that I'm certain many people up here are already biting into, which is ridiculous. We are in tough times. These are tough times. I came up with a solution. I don't know what more to do. I've done everything I can. I would prefer we just call the roll.
I have a few more comments, Madam Chair, before we do.
Ms. Simon?
So it appears that the reasons why I've heard from council so far that they might not be supporting this, as well, I agree with Councilman Gallagher, it seems to be an excuse. It's too late, we didn't know, we don't know what's going on with the opioid fund. Well, we do. We had a long discussion on opioid when we had discussion about funding the crisis center. And I was surprised of how that vote went and the consequence to the ED unit and to Metro. I was surprised by that. And I shouldn't be surprised now that it probably is going to go forward maybe in the same ratio that supported behavioral crisis center. And I suspect there's reasons behind those given today. Because when we have $70 million sitting in an opiate fund, and the council has the ability to fund something that's crucial and critical and timely, I don't think we can wait for the juvenile justice problem that we're seeing throughout this county. Bring Prosecutor O'Malley in here and he'll tell you about what's going on with the juveniles. Maybe we should have had him here. Maybe we should have had him here. But again, I'm going to state the case. I don't expect a great response. It seems like choices are being made, not on what's needed today, and for reasons that keep going back to HHS, and that's the gobbledygook. This is not a new program. I heard it again. We shouldn't be funding new things. Probation officers are not new things. They're adding to what's needed at that court. And at the end, when you come to the next amendment about decreasing not funding grant-funded positions, it seems like this council defers almost entirely to the administration's vision and goals about this opiate fund. And why is that? Why is that? It's the last, initiative, huge initiative, $7 million going into this was Executive Ronane's vision, and Dale Miller, president, went with that, and everybody went. And now here we are again talking about Director Carney at the last minute coming in with her wish list. Council is the one who can control the purse string, and we should have some ability to say and direct where these funds are going to go. And here's an opportunity. $3 million is a drop in a bucket relative to $70 million sitting there. And we're going to sit here today and say we didn't have enough time to think about it? The Juvenile Court Subcommittee met and gave us all a report months ago, and we all lauded that about how great and thank you and appreciative. We knew about this. This isn't some last-minute request. We knew this was coming, we knew what was needed, and we know there's money sitting in an opiate fund, which will allow this to be a neutral transfer. That's the reality. That's it.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Miller?
I just have to reiterate that we've gone through a very difficult time. This is a very difficult budget. The finances are bad, and the outlook is even worse. And I just think the situation calls for prudence and confidence. And being cautious, and that if whether it comes from opiate money or whether it comes from HHS, if we had more money to work with, there would be several existing programs that I've talked about that are really good programs, and some of like board and care and LMN are things that we're kind of obligated and have to do. And I think we should see how things go with those things over the next several months. And if things go considerably better than our worst fear, we can take a look at this a little bit down the road. But I reiterate that we shouldn't move on it now, and I ask you to support our position. Thank you.
Any other comments? Any further discussion? Not, has the question been called for? Do we have a motion?
We're going to make a roll call. Mr. Gallagher? Mr. Schlepper?
No.
We did a motion already?
We had two motions already. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Schlepper?
No.
Ms. Conwell?
No.
Mr. Jones?
No.
Ms. Turner?
No.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Ms. Simon?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
No.
Mr. Castleberry?
No.
Council President Miller?
No.
The motion carries. I'm sorry, the motion fails with 4 voting, casting dissenting votes, and 7 casting, I'm sorry, let me repeat that again. 7 casting dissenting votes and 4 casting in the affirmative. So as far as the amendment goes, the motion fails.
Okay, we move on to the next amendment.
Madam Chairwoman, Council Amendment number 3 is sponsored by Councilwoman Simon. She mentioned this in her comments regarding Council Amendment number 2. This would reduce prior grant-funded positions that are being proposed out of the general fund in 2027. There is, as presented by the executive and sustainability when they presented their budget, there are 2 positions in sustainability that is currently funded out of grants, and 1 position in the executive's budget that is funded out of grants. Those grants mostly expire in 2027. There's a little bit that falls off in 26, but all of it is in 2027. Both indicated that they were trying to see if they can go get another grant to fund those positions, but this would take away the appropriation in the general fund for those positions.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Sure.
Simon?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to at least state the reason for this amendment in further detail. In terms of the grant-funded positions that were brought before us, we were told that these positions were going to be funded with grants, and then if there was money down the road, the administration would be able to fund these positions when I asked them if there's no grant. But I just heard that this is the toughest budget cycle of our life, and how desperate we are and how terrible it is, and that we can't fund things that are truly needed. And now here we have an opportunity as a council to say, look, these grant positions cannot be funded with a general fund. So what I did in reason, gave the full funding for 26 in the budget, so all those positions can continue to be funded through 26. And I heard specifically from Chief of Sustainability, who said that she anticipates having grant money in 27, at least for her department. So I think, considering the onerous crisis we're in, I think it makes sense for us, if there's general fund money, that it not go here and free it up, because we keep abdicating to the administration over and over again, and to the expense of our own programs. CTAG got funded at the midnight hour at least, but that was cut. The Education Assistance Program got cut. CDSG got cut, and we're all team players. But here's an opportunity to have the administration be a team player as well, to fund a grant-funded position with general fund, but hurt us, I don't think makes sense. So this is just for 27, and the hope is that they're going to continue to fund this with a grant, which I was told at least sustainability anticipates having that done. So that's why. And it's not tons of money. I hope the administration would be able to find something in 27.
Further discussion or questions? Okay. Is there a motion to move this item forward?
Sure. So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second. Are we doing a voice count or?
We can do a roll call. Mr. Gallagher? Mr. Schlepper?
No.
Ms. Conwell? No. Mr. Jones?
No.
Ms. Turner?
No.
Mr. Hauser?
I probably should have made a comment. I do think our executive budget is extremely high. I'm not sure this is the way to right ship it. I'm going to vote no.
Ms. Simon?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Nope.
Mr. Castleberry?
No.
Council President Miller.
No.
Okay. The motion fails with 8 voting, casting dissenting votes, and 3 voting in the affirmative.
Okay, thank you. We'll move forward to the next amendment.
Madam Chair, I believe the sponsor indicated during Council Amendment number 2 that he's going to withdraw those 3. I don't know if that's still the
Madam
case.
Chair, I will withdraw the rest of my amendments. I think the people of Cuyahoga County have seen clearly what's going on here.
Okay, so amendments 4 through 7 are being withdrawn by the sponsor. As I mentioned in my opening statement, Amendment 8 no longer exists as it was incorporated into Amendment number 1. That takes us to Council Amendment number 9, which is sponsored by Sunny Simon, Councilwoman Simon, my apologies. What that does is.
I'm going to withdraw that.
Okay.
I see what's going on.
All right.
Everything's in the bag. But the 10th one, I would at least like to talk about.
Okay. Madam Chair, the sponsor withdrew Council Amendment number 9. So that leaves us with the final one, Council Amendment number 10, which is sponsored by Councilwoman Simon. Funding is for juvenile court for 2026 only. It's $25,000, which would fund the CASA program. It would be funded out of opioid dollars ultimately, which is what was discussed for Council Amendment number 2. So it would be the same funding structure.
Yeah, so this is a minor amount out of the opiate fund that would help the CASA program get on its feet in 26. We can't continue to have that funded over time. I believe as well, that's not a sustainable request, but this would help them hopefully get on their feet and be able to do what they need to do. And these are kids that are in the county's care. These are kids that are brought in for delinquency, dependency, neglect. And the CASAs seem to be able to help with wrapping around services in a better way than just the GALs. So this is a minor amount, and it goes a long way. And it's my hope that they'll be able to sustain their program going forward with this little injection. And I'll make a motion.
Been moved and seconded.
I'm sorry, who seconded, please?
Have a voice count.
Councilman Gallagher.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please.
Mr. Schlepper.
No.
Ms. Conwell. Mr. Jones.
No.
Ms. Turner.
No.
Ms. Simon.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
No.
Mr. Castleberry.
No.
Council President Miller.
No.
The motion fails.
I didn't
Oh,
vote.
I'm sorry,
I'm a
Council-
yes vote.
Okay, thank you. The motion fails with 7 casting dissenting votes and 4 voting in the affirmative.
Madam Chair? That concludes the council amendments. What is needed next would be a motion to refer the biennial budget as amended to the full council. And again, that would be for second reading tomorrow at the 5 o'clock council meeting, and then third reading, consideration and adoption at the December 9th meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 No.
Correct. It would be second reading tomorrow, and then third reading at our last council meeting, because right now, OBM is confident that we will not need that special council meeting that we do to approve the year-end fiscal agenda items, which is nice.
Madam Clerk, are you clear on the, okay. So the measure passed. Okay. All right, so mention our next meeting will be on Tuesday, November 25th, 5 p.m. I think that concludes all the business. President Miller, you have any final comments?
So, this is not an easy process. And it would have been even more difficult if there were not a lot of discussions between the administration and the council prior to the budget being introduced. And so those discussions narrowed the differences, but differences remained between the administration request and what the council ended up with. And as we saw today, legitimate differences of opinion remained within the council. But I just want to thank all of my colleagues for their time, attention, and serious diligence in working on this. And even though I think we all didn't get some of the things that we wanted, I think we all also did get some of the things that we wanted. And I would like to commend Councilwoman Turner, especially for her outstanding leadership doing this process for the first time, and also to thank my Vice President, Councilwoman Conwell, for all the help, particularly on the Health and Human Services, which turned out to be the focal point for this budget, and to thank all of my colleagues for their work. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just a correction. Tomorrow's meeting, 3 p.m. is Committee of the Whole, and then 5 o'clock is Council.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to finally say also thank you to our leadership, to President Miller, Vice President Conwell, to the staff, for all the hours that you put in to make sure that I know at least I understood what was going on. When I got this assignment at the beginning of the year, I was truly terrified, and I was right to be because it's a lot of moving pieces here. I want to affirm for sure that this process was open, it was deliberative, and it was rooted in the fiscal realities that we must govern within. I honor the work behind each amendment, and I want to thank each of my colleagues for the work that they did and the sincerity behind each withdrawal. These choices were not easy for anyone in this room. So hopefully, as we move forward with a passed budget, that we can come back and readdress some of these concerns, because they're still outstanding. But thank you to everyone that contributed and offered thoughtful considerations to the people that we serve. And it was my honor and privilege to serve you. And I will recognize Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. You did a great job, and I would not want to have done it. So I thank you for all the time, all the effort, all the thoughtfulness that you put into this, and to the president and the vice president, too. But you did a great job. I just want to make sure I say that publicly.
Thank you. Got a lot of some support from everyone here. Thank you. Right, if there is no further miscellaneous business, this meeting is adjourned.